on NHRA Today. Qualifying results and a preview of eliminations at the Winston Finals. The California creator of some classy chassis. Sportsman racers finish up in Phoenix. And who's fleet, regal, and street legal. From Pomona, California, these stories and more on this edition of NHRA Today. Although the Winston Professional Championships have been locked up for 1993, there are still close battles for the next few spots in points. Now, it has often been said that second place is no place, but a spot in the top 5 is still worth a nice chunk of Winston's change. In Top Fuel, just about anyone who drives a dragster is in contention for all but the top 3 slots. While in Funny Car, Cruz Pendragon and Chuck Etchels are slugging it out for second, with Al Hoffman also putting his name in contention. Pro Stock's bragging rights still find Kurt Johnson riding high in his rookie season, while the 4th and 5th are the domain of a pair of Midwestern veterans. Today, each of these soldiers of speed will lock and load at the Winston Finals, the last battle in the War of '93. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of NHRA Today. I'm Steve Evans, coming to you from the Winston Finals in Pomona, California. It's still fairly early here at the Fairplex facility, but when you're a drag racing driver or mechanic, you get up with the sun on Sunday. Now, in just about 3 hours, the first call will go out to light them up, and the curtain will start to slowly fall on the 1993 NHRA Winston Championship season. We'll be here throughout the day to bring you all the action, starting with Dave McClellan and a visit with the quickest of the quick in Top Fuel.
Steve, we're in Corey McLenathan's pit area, the #1 qualifier in Top Fuel, but he's not here. In fact, he is off thinking, concentrating about his driving because he knows one thing. He's got a performance advantage, a 4:79 elapsed time set in qualifying, and the man responsible for that, Jimmy Prock, his crew chief. They call you the bad boys of drag racing. You're certainly bad this weekend.
Yeah, I guess we kind of lived up to our name so far. Hopefully be able to do good today. Try to back it down a little bit. Those runs are a little touchy.
They're a little touchy, and they're also a little tough on parts and pieces.
Yeah, they can be. Sometimes they are, and other times they're not. It's just a matter of the conditions, basically.
Good luck to you today. Right now, let's go to Bob Fry with the #1 qualifier in Funny Car.
Thanks, Dave. Well, it's the end of the season, and the parts are starting to get a little worn out, but we got some extra sleep last night. Push those clocks back, and you should be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed today to run out of that #1 qualifying spot, Chuck.
Oh, yeah, Bob. I mean, we couldn't be happier. You know, right now we're just trying to maintain #2, and we kind of came in here in maybe a defensive mode because Cruz is nipping at our heels, and, you know, it's important to our sponsors that we finish well. So getting in the #1 spots helped us. I think we have a little bit better side of the ladder today than we would have had staying #6. As a matter of fact, if we stayed #6, we probably would have had 4 second round. So that would not have been a picnic. Not saying any of the other guys are, but we definitely, you know, helped our odds today.
Quickest car in the racetrack over the season, 4.98 seconds. First in the 4s and first up this morning. Set his clock back. Hope you did too. Let's go over to the Pro Stock pit area. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I'll tell you, Steve Evans is standing by with the #1 qualifier over there.
Thank you, Bob. Well, folks, I've got a real stunner here. The already declared Winston champion, Warren Johnson, is once again the low qualifier. But I think even you were surprised at that 7:09.
Oh, yeah, here we felt maybe 13, 14, something of that nature. This track at the end of the year characteristically has not been real fast. The 09 was kind of a stunner for us. Kurt came in with a 12. We're ecstatic with the performance we've got right now.
And this morning it could be even better.
Well, that's a possibility. Depending on the temperature, the track, you know, is going to be as good as it's going to be first run, so possibility is there.
Another Johnson versus Johnson final?
Well, that's the way we got it scripted, but there's 14 other cars out there that have something to say about it.
One of the components that takes more than its share of abuse on racing engines is the connecting rod. And on today's nitro engines, the life expectancy of a connecting rod can be 10 runs or less. Now, the rod gets abuse from both directions. As the crankshaft pushes it up and the piston up in the bore on compression stroke, the rod's compressed. Then as the rod tries to pull the piston back down on the intake stroke, it gets stretched. Well, as you can imagine, all that bending and twisting and stretching isn't good for the rod. Eddie Hill and Fuzzy Carter have a rod with a few new innovations that they think is going to help the life expectancy of the rod. This unit is made out of 70-75 T6 bar stock, unlike the forging used on a lot of other rods. Also, to align the cap to the main portion of the rod, there are usually serrations right here. As the rod runs, these serrations shrink together and changes the shape of the big end of the rod, and that's not good. This rod, the mating surface is flat. There are no serrations, and alignment is accomplished with dowel pins. That should hold the shape of the big end of the rod better. Also, there's an oil hole drilled here that oils the wrist pin area. On the fuel motors, they're having a lot of trouble as the wrist pin moves around, beating out that area of the rod. With the oil going there, Fuzzy and Eddie feel that it's going to hold the small end of the rod in better shape. Well, it's going to take some evaluation to find out if this rod is better than what's currently available. But these rods are in the best test machine in the country.
Another way Eddie and Ursi Hill's nuclear banana has achieved that distinction is through the efforts of a Northern California chassis builder who traded in his sometimes singed fire suit for a welder's outfit.
North of Sacramento, in the shadow of the Sutter Buttes, the smallest mountain range in America, lies Yuba City, home to Yahara race cars, a fabrication shop owned by Dave Yahara, a champion in his own right, who has also created countless championship race cars.
Back in the early 70s, we couldn't afford to buy a car, so what we did, we took our top gas car and I converted it myself into a top fuel car by doing some front half framework to it. And from then on, I had more people ask me to do work and more work, and next thing you know, I was in business building cars.
Dave's driving career began in earnest in 1965, and by the late 70s, with almost 15 years of experience behind the wheel, the accomplishments and accolades started coming Dave's way.
The fondest memories and the best car, I think, was the Good, Bad, and Ugly car we had. The name Good, Bad, and Ugly came from the three partners I had in the car, and they always fought over who was good, who was bad, and who was ugly in the thing, and I don't think we ever did settle that question.
But partners Henry Velasco, Lee Cohen, Dick Oswald, and Dave Yahara did manage to weld the competition and finish number 7 in the world in 1979.
That particular car ran probably more fives at its time than any other dragster, and it was the 6th car into the 250-mile-an-hour club.
But Yahara's career was not all 5-second runs and inductions into performance clubs.
As far as my crashes go, it's all part of the job. I don't think there's too many people out there that haven't had an incident at one time or another, and it is something that comes with the job every once in a while. Hopefully it doesn't, but every once in a while it does.
Those incidents, coupled with increasing demands from his business, forced Yahara to hang up his helmet, if only temporarily.
The technology in the last probably 5 years have changed quite drastically because of the amount of horsepower that the engines are developing these days. And we've had to change along with that to compensate for the extra power and torque that these engines are putting out. Each builder has their own engineering secret, you might say, and we do too. A lot of it's through, our vast experience through the years on what it takes to make these things work and what it takes to keep them to stay together.
One of Dave's most popular and widely recognized creations is Eddie Hill's Nuclear Banana.
My favorite cars, I think, are from the day it left the shop, I told Eddie and Ursi Hill both. I said, I don't know what it is, but there's just something special about that car.
Dave's other labor of love has been his 1953 Buick.
I don't know how I got to love Buicks, but I think it's the grill in the thing that in the cars that really drew my attention to them.
And despite Dave's success both on and off the track, he still yearns to return to life in the fast lane.
I just don't want to do it full-time as a career, but I would like to be active again and drive again a little bit.
Welcome back to the Fairplex. As we mentioned earlier in the program, the #1 position in the pro categories, with the exception of pro bike, has already been clinched. And the points picture in the sportsman classes became a lot clearer after Phoenix last weekend, where Bob Fry took in the action.
The last Winston Drag Racing Series points event of the season was held at Firebird International Raceway in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, to some, like Randy Anderson, this race meant everything. Randy was just 2 rounds away from beating Bob Newberry for the top alcohol funny car title.
It's a whole lot of pressure. I went through 3 world championships, and down towards the end, it gets real heavy. And, you know, the whole year comes down to 1 run.
Randy got a bye in the first round as the #1 qualifier in an uneven field. Then in round 2, he faced John Weaver for the Winston Championship. During the burnout, the Dreamweaver's chute came out, and it was Anderson with his dream come true.
This is our first year chasing it, and a lot of luck. Car ran pretty decent, and you know, that's what it took.
Now, that wasn't the only anticlimactic ending for a title chase in the alcohol class. Lane Johnson won the Alcohol Dragster Championship when Chuck Baird didn't make it to Firebird. Instead of blocking Baird, Lane was commentator for a day, and he had some big news to announce to his alcohol rivals.
We're definitely going to run Top Fuel next year. To what scale, we're not sure right now, but we're definitely looking for some sort of major sponsorship just to get out there and make a serious dent in the Top Fuel fields.
In Super Comp, Edmund Richardson needed to go to the semifinals to beat his brother Scotty for the Winston title. A tough situation for both Texas racers.
Everybody wants to win a world championship. Obviously, he wants it bad. I'd like to have it bad. He's sitting in the driver's seat, and to pass him, I think he'd be happy for me as well as I'll be happy for him if he wins it.
Hollywood definitely didn't write the ending to this championship race as Edmund went 4 rounds and broke. Thus, Scotty unseated his brother as king of Super Comp. In the stock eliminator points battle, both Jason Line and Marianne Method went out early and did not pick up any points. So that battle moves on to Pomona, with Jason in the lead by 400 points. In Comp, Bill Moropoulos added to his points lead by going to the finals, where he lost to John Geyer in the near lane. Now, this points chase will be decided at the Winston Finals also, where Stevie Johns has to win to retain the #1 on his car. The Super Gas Championship is still up for grabs, with Johnny Woods leading the way. Randy Adler and Lynn Ellison have a great shot. The biggest gain by anyone was Greg Stanfield in Superstock. Greg came into the race 4th in points, and when he defeated Len Schneider in the far lane, Stanfield found himself on the top of the pack.
Winning a race put me in the lead on the points, but Sal Biondo, if he wins the World Finals, can beat us in the points, and the same goes to Rick Hauser if he gets runner-up.
Now, here are the winners from Division 7. For NHRA Today, I'm Bob Fry.
And now, Red Wing Shoes wants to take a moment to tell you who's hot in the world of drag racing. With only Frank Hawley's drag racing school as experience, Dr. Jeremy Torsveit went racing at Top Alcohol Dragster. After some ups and downs in his first season, the Phoenix heart surgeon saved his best for last. At the Phoenix Winston Drag Racing Series event, Dr. Torsveit defeated Mark Niver in the near lane with a 5.95 for his first win ever.
It was unbelievable in front of my family and all my friends in Phoenix, and we just it couldn't have been a better ending to the season.
Congratulations to Dr. Jeremy Torsveit, and be sure to keep watching next week when Red Wing Shoes will once again tell you who's hot in the world of drag racing.
Castrol presents the GTX Pipeline, the latest news from the world of drag racing.
This past Thursday on the starting line at the Winston Finals, Don the Snake Prudhomme stunned the sport and all of us in announcing his retirement at the end of the 1994 season. That's next year. Don, it's always great when an athlete can retire on his own terms.
It sure is. I never thought I'd be able to do that, to be honest with you. You know, sponsors are hard to pursue, and usually in our sport especially, that they seem to only have to quit when they don't have a sponsor. Well, gosh, I've been really lucky, fortunate in my years, and U.S. Tobacco has stuck by me, and they're going to sponsor us again in the following year, and it's my retirement year, so I couldn't ask for a better situation.
Then what happens?
Well, there's a lot of things that happen. It's a big world out there, and I see myself as being a car owner when I step out of the driver's seat, believe it or not.
The final strike, 94. I love it.
I love it too. Yeah, we're going to have a ball, you know, and this whole thing's about the fans. That's why I'm doing it. I'm going to do it next year to race in front of them, sign as many autographs as I can, and have one big party and maybe win some drag races along the way.
Go get them.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody.
The World Street Finals attracted hundreds of cars to the Orlando Speed World Dragway from all over the United States and from countries as close as Canada and as far away as Australia. But it was the boys from Sweden who were downright grateful to be in Orlando, because back home, they don't get a chance to race on a real drag strip.
No, it's on the street. That's why you call it street racing.
Looking to stem the Scandinavian invasion would be Americans like Rod Sabery, who brought his '59 vet for a special match race.
These guys are quick. They're not fooling around. They've all got computers in their cars. They're all running 700 cubic inch motors. They're all running heavy nitro systems. There are some serious racers from other countries.
Cars must be legally registered to drive on the street and have to be basic NHRA safety standards. Now, each must weigh at least 2,800 pounds and have a muffler, headlights, brake lights, and turn signals. There are 3 categories: Pro Street, Real Pro Street, and Super Pro Street. Racing slicks are allowed in Pro Street, but the manual or automatic transmission must be original equipment.
The Swedish cars, for some reason, are all running 2-speed hydromatics. I thought with that big horsepower they'd be running Lenkos, but they're not. Most of the American cars, though, are running the Lenkos.
Key Buzz ran the dome last work. Real street car.
This '86 Pro Rock Camaro is Jeff Stubbs' Pro Street entry.
Cars got to compete on DOT tires, and we feel that's a big thing because real street cars do run on real street tires. It gets about 1.5 miles, 2 miles a gallon, but we can drive down to local Steak and Shake and eat and then go back home with it, and it's a lot of fun.
They call Super Pro Street the outlaw category because about the only requirements are the car be registered and streetable. The rest is up to the driver's imagination.
It's built right to the rules, to the limit of the rules, but right to the rules.
Speaking of rules, just before eliminations, all qualifiers have to run a street test of 12 miles in half an hour, going no faster than 55. Sound easy? It wiped out most of the field in Super Pro, including #1 qualifier Stan Shaw.
He just basically pushed on it too hard, and then he had a parts breakage or something, he said. So that's what happens when you lean on him real hard. But, you know, I wish the luck to him because Shaw's a real good guy.
With Shaw's unceremonious exit, it would be Moran piloting the John Carter Nova into the Super Pro finals against Swede Bjorn Kronqvist.
That's a great feeling, I'll tell you that right now. It was looking real grim there. The Swedes were taking just about everything until that final round, so we feel good about it.
The Pro Street final was a duel of 67 Camaros, pitting Ohio's Mark Tate against Sweden's Hans Kuters, whose win wowed Swedes in the stands. But in the finals for Real Pro Street, it was an all-American competition of Camaros, pitting Jeff Stubbs' 86 against Mark Smith's 69.
It come through. This is a lifelong dream. To the Super Bowl, we won it. We did it, man. I can't even think of a way to describe it, but I called home and told the wife, and that was enough. She's going crazy. I can't believe I won this thing.
Believe it, Jeff. You've joined the most exclusive club in the world. Well, that certainly was equipment performing at its very peak, and that's something we have a lot of around here as well. Right now, let's turn to my co-hosts for a look into their crystal ball and their picks to click among the Pomona pros.
Steve, it's not too hard for me to make my pick anyway. In Top Fuel Eliminator, I'm going with a guy that has regained some consistency that he's not had earlier this season. And I'm talking about Kenny Bernstein. Why would I say that? A 4:81 best time in qualifying, but more importantly, yesterday, he marched through a tough 8-car field. 3 rounds, great 480 elapsed times, and won the $50,000 paycheck in the Budweiser Classic for Top Fuel Dragsters. So the Bud King gets my vote for Top Fuel. To find out about his pick in Funny Car, here's Bob Fry.
I'm in the trailer of our #6 qualifier, Al Hoffman. All these trick little parts here worked well yesterday. Unfortunately, they had some clutch problems. If not, this car would have been a 5-0 machine in qualifying. Now you can see the tension is unbearable as these guys get ready for round #1. Actually, they're thinking about the ladder as it breaks down throughout the weekend, and I think they're on the great side of the ladder. I like the way that this car is running, and I like Al Hoffman and Tommy Anderson to go all the way here at the Winston Finals, and then come out Tuesday, announce a brand new sponsor. This is my pick to click.
Well, everyone, we heard Warren Johnson at the top of the show say the script he has written includes a final round with that young man, his own son, Kurt. Now, a lot of fans out there might want to rewrite that script or edit it a little bit. I don't think you can. Kurt has almost as much power as his dad, and his reaction times are so good, as we saw 2 weeks ago in Dallas. I think Warren's right. It will be a Johnson & Johnson Pro Stock final, and I think you can toss a coin as to who might win that.
NHRA Today is a presentation of Diamond B Sports.